that was the problem. Let's see. Yes. Okay. All right, our long-term debt, we'll bring it down to maybe 16%. Times our sales number. And our total liabilities is our current liabilities plus our long-term debt. All right. Now our preferred stock has been going down. We'll drop it another 0.5%. We'll call it 0.04 equals 0.04 times our sales number. Okay. And our common stock has been dropping, but it's still pretty high. We'll drop it down a little bit more, equals 0.18 times our sales number. And retained earnings, our retained earnings really should be that plus that. But let's see, it's been dropping down, 9.51 is, well, let's take it to, let's leave it here and let's call it equals that times our sales number of that. And just for grins, let's see how that compares with our net income. So equals that minus that, 2.049. And so we're a little bit low by about $500,000. We're expecting our net income available to be 2.05 there and 2.5 there. So we're a little bit low, and that needs to balance out. So we're going to need to bring something up a little bit. And what's it going to be? Make our retained earnings look a little bit better. We need to bring this, let's see. So we need our retained earnings number to increase. To do that, let's see, we're off by $500,000. So that would be 500,000 divided by our sales number, 76,045,926. So this number here needs to go up to about 10%. I'm a little uncomfortable with that, but it is higher there. So if we say equals 0.1 times our sales number, that brings that up there. So that's equal to that minus that. We're still a little bit low, but we're closing in on. I'm okay with that. We're close enough. So our common equity, well, let's see, this number is this and this, common stock plus retained earnings is equal to that plus that. Let's see, that's 12. Yeah. And And so our total owner's equity, those three there. So let's go ahead and copy this number, this formula here. And we got it to there. All right. So we're going to be off by about $300,000. And let's see if we can close the gap. $200,000. Let's see if we can close the gap a little bit. Let us bring our let's see if we bring our accounts payable. Change that or that or that. We can change our long-term debt. Well, let's leave it like it is for the time being. All right. So what do we need to do now? We've done common size statements. Let's do a cash flow statement and see how much money we're going to need. So we do net income, right there, depreciation, there, add those two. Now we got the change in non-cash working capital, and that's going to be change in accounts receivable, change in inventory, and change in accounts, let's call it current liabilities. Change in current liabilities, which is accounts payable, accruals, and notes payable. And so this is equal to that minus this. And this is equal to that minus that. This is equal to that minus that. All right. And so cash flow from operations is equal to that minus that minus this plus this. Boom. So we're going to generate $3.8 million there. Now let's look at the change in net fixed assets. And that is equal to that minus this plus depreciation. Boom. Yikes. Okay. And now let's do so let's move this down here and call this cash flow from investing. And now we'll say cash flow from financing. And we'll go change in long-term debt. And that's equal to that minus that. And change in contributed capital. And that's equal, and we didn't do anything there. I don't think we, so that is equal to that minus that. And dividends is equal to here. Boom. Okay. Oh, and change in preferred stock. And that's equal to that minus that. Okay, so cash flow from financing is equal to this plus this plus this minus this. Boom. This is a negative number. So, the change in cash is equal to this minus this plus this. About 700,000. Let's see what the change in cash actually, let's see what the change in cash marketable securities is actually. So, let's compare that number. Equals this plus this minus this plus this. So once again, we're off by about $200,000. All right, that's pretty close, given it's a rough. So where's the problem? The problem is that we have varied these percentages in 2006 somewhat. They're estimates in here, and they're not going to be exact. If they were exact, then we would be able to match up these numbers here. Our change in retained earnings would be 2.5 million. Instead it's 2.3 million, so we're off by about 200,000. So the question so we already looked at question 3 to see how we're doing, and not really too impressive, and we learned that also in question 2. And so question 5 is, how much additional sales can the company support without having to add fixed assets? Well, we're running at 90% of capacity. All right? So if we divide, so let's look at question 5. What sales increase can we accomplish without adding to P, P, and E? All right? And let's take the B out of that. All right, that's the question. And the answer is equals our sales number in 2005 divided by 0.9, okay, minus our sales number. Yes, I know I'm going to need another parentheses right there. All right, so what sales increase can we accomplish without adding to property, plant, and equipment? Well, we're running at 90%. If we take it to 100%, okay, we can divide this by 0.9 to get 100% of our sales, subtract 2005 actual from 2005 at running at 100%, and we can support $6 million, a $6 million increase in sales without adding to net fixed assets, okay? And we're actually going up, so that would take us up to about 60 million, okay, in sales. We could go up to 60 million in sales without having to buy net fixed assets. But what we would have to buy would be accounts receivable and inventory, okay? So if we went up 6 million in sales, we wouldn't have to add to net fixed assets, but we would have to add to accounts receivable and inventory unless we became a lot more efficient in collecting our accounts receivable and in managing our inventory. So I want to make this point, and we'll stop. And the point is that the amount of capital that this company will need, or any company, is a function of the growth of the company, the growth rate. The higher the growth rate, the more capital you need. Well, how do you offset that? Well, if you increase your profit margin, okay, as you grow, you generate more cash from your operations. So that's one thing that the company could focus on. Let's grow our sales, but let's also improve our profit margins. If you grow and manage your assets more efficiently, you manage your accounts receivable more efficiently, you manage your inventory more efficiently, you manage your net fixed assets more efficiently. That will enable you to grow your sales without spending as much money, and you will not need as much capital to operate. So the things that determine how much capital you need are your growth rate of sales and any changes in your margins and any changes in your efficiency ratios. Okay? So you have to determine how fast you think your sales are going to grow, what your margins are going to look like, and then you have to determine what you think your turnover ratios will be, or what your assets divided by sales, which is another way of doing a turnover ratio, will be. And the lower your accounts receivable are as a percentage of sales, the faster you can grow without needing more capital. The lower your inventories are as a percentage of sales, the faster you can grow without having to spend as much money on inventory. The lower your net fixed assets are as a percentage of sales, the faster you can grow without having to spend as much money on net fixed assets. And you can see that in all these categories, the company is not operating efficiently. They can do better, particularly when it comes to fixed assets. They've got a lot of fixed assets, 32% of their sales devoted to fixed assets, whereas the industry only 22%. So this appears to be an area where the company really, really needs to spend some time. It looks to me like they've gone out and spent a bunch of money on net fixed assets, And what they need to do now is stop spending money on net fixed assets and start generating more sales. It could be a unit problem, or it could be a pricing problem. Their margin, their gross margin is a little bit low compared to the industry, so they need to raise their prices a little bit or cut their cost of goods sold a little bit. All right, so that's where we are right now. We're going to stop, and then we'll finish this case in the next clip. Peace out. Shalom.